again, I'll thank the leadership of the Yokai Youth Parliament. It is a privilege to appear before young intellectuals and speak to them. Let me submit to you how honored and grateful I am. I thank you all for inviting me to speak on this subject, the role of the youth for education, why they must be heard. I have therefore decided to predicate my presentation on 2 quotes, one of which I chose it wisely from the scriptures which we all are familiar with, and the other will be from a renowned motivational speaker I love to read his books. Of course, the Bible will take it to me first. So, in the Bible is a story we are told from Joshua chapter 24, a non-story. If you have your Bibles in your phone, you can turn to it. Joshua chapter 24 was a story we are told of a critical moment when Joshua took over from Moses and they were about going to their promised land. So at the other side of the river, we are told of how Joshua gathered all the tribes of Israel and called for their judges, their lawyers, and the officers. And the story is told of how Joshua reminded them of how their fathers, including Terah, father of Abraham, lived at the other side of the river and they worship gods rather than the real God. And Joshua tells them, choose you now this day whom you shall serve. Shall you serve the gods of your fathers which they served at the other side of the river? Or shall you serve the gods of the Amorites, in whose land you dwelt? But as for me and my house, we shall serve the Lord. The second quote upon which I have decided to predicate my presentation on, just as I have told you, would be from a renowned American motivational speaker, Dennis Whitley. He once said, there are 2 primary choices in life. One is to accept conditions as they exist, and 2, accept responsibility for changing them. Now, if you accept the initial, you then settle to be a passive being, which in my view, I call evil. Maybe you have a different view with it. And if you accept the latter, you are in for action, so you should prepare. Of course, there are possibilities for failure, admit that. But Nelson Mandela tells us the greatest glory in living lies not in never falling, but in rising each time you fall. And I totally agree with Mandela according to the words of Zig Ziglar. This is what he said. Stop being afraid of what could go wrong and start being positive of what could go right. There's a sense to which why I chose these 2 quotes, and it speaks to my agenda. There's a sense to which why it speaks to the entire question of choices. Now, 2 things to consider. Do you want to be a passive being accepting the status quo? Or do you want to accept responsibility? The latter. In the world, and for that matter, Ghana is full of young people. And let me emphasize that for statistical purpose, the United Nations in 2011 defines youth as individuals between the ages of 15 and 24 years. Reference from Population Facts, Youth Population Trends and Sustainable Development in 2015 captures there were 1.2 billion youths aged 15 to 24 years globally. The fact is this: in Africa, the number of youth is growing rapidly. About 226 million youths aged 15 to 24 years live in Africa, accounting 19% of the global youth population. By 2030, per the statistics, the number of youth living in Africa will have increased by 42%. There again, according to World Factbook, Central Intelligence Agency, Ghana has a young age structure with approximately 57% of its population under the age of 25. The Yokai Youth forms part of this 57. Or what have we to prove? If I may ask, what have you done so far?
What has been our services to the constituencies to show ourselves capable for leadership? Well, to the best of my recollection, in one of my presentations, I stated that there are forces that drive the economy of each country, which you and me are not exception. And of course, it is all well known and irrefutable fact that the youth of any country is a great asset. Our country is full of young people, oh yes, yet there is a sense to which why there is no faith in us. What are we to prove? I ask again. Come to our inner cities or towns where garbages are eating us up. There isn't any single day that you come out from your house that you wouldn't see a trash flying in the air. This is the city we call. And so when people are being told of Accra and they wish to come to Accra, and finally when they settle in Accra, the simple question they ask, is this the Accra we've been campaigning all while? Did we all witness what happened last Saturday? You know the results. It is as a result of dumping refuse at unapproved spots. Why always Accra when it rains? If we are not ready to desist from this character, I can assure you that any time it rains, our lives will be at risk. We live in the communities, get to La Paz, and you see people rushing to cross the streets even when the traffic light turns red. We live in a community where pedestrian walkway has been taken over by sellers. Wow, the chaos we witnessed at Ayawa, so are not old people. They were young folks. They were young individuals, just like me and you. What are we doing as youth? We live in a community where during election era, just as we are, the youth are being taken and trained as vessels to carry ballot boxes. Today, there has been a Vigilantism and Related Offences Act being passed 2019. But the agenda pushes. Mind you, there's nothing wrong for treating and proclaiming the good works of your party. But I submit to us all in humbleness and plea. Let's do that in harmony. For peace to prevail. I was highly perplexed when I was presenting my message for delivery. A young fellow approached me. He asked a simple question. From home, don't you think Ghana deserves the best? I said it does. And he asked me again, so why this? Why are we going through this? He is championing a good cause for the survival of Ghana, for the space in which we live. And he names it as love God first and love Mother Ghana. If you love Mother Ghana, you do things to raise its image. What can we do as youth? Well, I remember our pledge, of which each of one has said it before. I promise on my honor to be faithful and loyal to Ghana, my motherland. The simple question is, are we being faithful when we see our pedestrians walkway being taken over by sellers and we keep mute as youth? Over the years, we've had evidences of accidents as a result of this. Is this how we are paying loyalty to our country? By accepting to be vessels who carry ballot boxes illegally? Are we lifting our country to a high esteem? When all we hear when we wake up from our beds are profane thoughts from political communicators, and we keep mute. Do you have any idea how far this could go? Democracy? Has democracy got to do with insults? Am I communicating? Am I communicating? Has democracy got to do with insults? No. As a very youth parliament, what are some of the motions you debate on? Are they for improvement? Are they for development? Or they are just for fun? Or they are just for debating sake? We need to come, so we are coming. If you care to know, our nation needs the youth to solve most of our problems. And we believe the youth are capable in solving them. Jack Ma has his view. He says young people are the solution for tomorrow. Young people are the solution for all our worries. If you stay with them, you'll be full with energy. We are young people. Aren't we young people? We are. So why? On the 11th day of May 2020, during the lockdown era, a non-for-profit youth organization in Nepal, did organize the national webinar on the topic, the role of the youth in achieving SDGs. At the webinar, Mr. Aria, the head of field office, did encourage the youth to participate in all aspects of planning and policy making processes to ensure that the concerns of you and me, the youth, are being incorporated in policies. There was something I took from the studies. Listen to this. At the webinar, Ms. Benita, a youth program officer at UNDP in Nepal, reiterates on the youth issues like youth unemployment. We are going through this. Youth and migration. Everybody wants to come to the city. Youth and resilience. Youth and peace building. And for this, the youth for education must be heard. Regardless of what you have heard before, the vision of our country lies in the hands of me and you. And it will be a great loss of human resources if these youth, if we the youth, are not given the space to exercise our God-given talents. This beautiful land of ours needs the youth in order for our talk, since the inception of Kwame Nkrumah's time, to become a success. The intelligence and work of me and you once again will take our country to the pathway of success. And so the youth for education primary role is to champion good education, to we the young people in order to become better tomorrow. Oh, we believe that the youthful age is an age for dreams, an age for unity, and an age for discovery. This is the time we can think of a lot of things, innovative things. This is what we believe. But it is highly pathetic. Each day when I take my phone, go through online, and read news, it is highly pathetic that sexism and racism is an ongoing headache in our country, in Africa, and the world at large. What are we doing? Discrimination among various ethnic groups, hence ethnocentrism. Oh, we have forgotten that a single ethnic group is an island to itself. Tell me that there is any ethnic group that does not rely on other ethnic groups. Why are individuals fighting against each other? All because of different political ideology. If I have a different political ideology from you, should that engage us in fighting? Religion is not at ease. It's another issue. And so we the youth believe we can convince our fellow men to live in peace and love. We should not allow these little differences. We should not compromise on these little differences to sway us apart from each other. Is this how we are paying back the lives of the big sis, John Alfred Grant, with chaos? We didn't meet them, but we mentioned their names because of the great sacrifices they made. What legacy are we leaving by? How do we want to be remembered when our names are being mentioned in the future? If you care to know, we sit quiet and put up a passive act, leadership of Okaipe Youth Parliament. If we sit quiet and put up a passive act, listeners of Okaipe Youth Parliament this day, we keep quiet and put up a passive act. There's one thing I can assure you. Our children, unless of course you will not give birth, our children will blame us. Our children will so question us that what were we when our country leaders were passing out these policies? What were we when our country's resources were being misused? Questions that you might not be able to answer. And they will blame you. Let's ponder over this.
No more football. Sorry, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you. We are optimistic that the youth have influence on their young people, and for that, the youth for education must be given the opportunity to expose our traits to the world and make the youthful populace an honorable force. And so, whilst life is gifted to us by our Maker, there's still a better tomorrow ahead of all young people. There's still a chance to print our foot, shake the status quo, and make good legacy in quest of time. Whether can do spirit or calculate and pleading, let's strive always to be the best in any sphere of work and how life leads us. Together we can make a remarkable history. Together we can make a history that the next generation would always seek to observe. We can make our nation proud. Together we can make a flourishing Ghana. We can never and ever make do without the young people of our generation. It is of no single doubt that we have aspiring professional accountants, nurses, doctors, of course, Madam Bibi, we are not forgetting the profession. And who knows, we have the next Kwame Nkrumah, the Kofi Annan, the Jerry John Rawlings, John Ejekun Kufuor, the spirit of my mentor, Nelson Mandela. How I wish I was close to him. Professor Lumumba, and the likes. Maybe to the youth out there, now is not the time to blame our parents for their misfortune. Oh yes, they brought us to the world, but they owe us nothing. They probably might have done the best they know how to do. And so if we think their best is not enough, the simple answer is let's get out there and make the life we want. It ended my remarks. Let me leave you with one thought that I hope will be well with you beyond the season. And I chose it wisely from the scriptures. Of course, I like reading the Bible. It's my second home. The Acts of the Apostles, the books of Acts, chapter 5 verses. Just take it down. Just a phrase. And the young men arose. Okay, choose you now this day. Shall you be a passive being, accepting the status quo, which I call evil? Or shall you accept responsibility in shaking the status quo? I challenge you. Accept responsibility and arise to shake the status quo, the nation and the world at large. Arise to change the stereotypes. Arise and change the negative perception about you and me. Arise. Let's write letters to the assemblies seeking for sponsorship and other equipment to educate the people on the need for sanitation. Arise. Let's write letters to the assemblies to ask them to fix CCTVs on the streets. And those CCTVs that have been fixed should be in full operation. In order to unity persons that breaks the rules of the traffic lights. To serve as detriment to others who want to break the rule. Arise, our country needs me and you. Arise, for she is bleeding. Aluta continua. Victoria said that struggle will always and always continue until the youth for education are held. Together, I believe we have a dream. Thank you.
Yeah.